The GHSA state championships are set as we head toward that crowning weekend in Macon. It's time for picks and predictions with the RYZE Hoops crew. I'm Cory McCartney along with Dan McDonald and Carter Wilson. Guys, it all comes down to this in the state of Georgia. Happy to have you guys back in.
Thanks, Cory.
Now let's get started off with 7A and Milton, the 10th ranked team in the nation by Max Preps, gets a rematch with Berkmar. The Eagles won the first time around 62-54 on November 28th. How does it play out this time around with a state title on the line? Carter, give me your breakdown of this matchup.
Yeah, so I'm looking at one guy on each side, kind of. For Milton, it's can anybody slow down Kanan Carlisle? Like, this guy's been unbelievable down the stretch. Like, the last few weeks, he's been putting up absolutely huge numbers. I think he's kind of made himself that top dog in Georgia's 2023 class. And on the other side, Berkmar's unsung hero has been Dara Alande. Just kind of that scrappy big man, provides toughness, grabs rebounds. He's going to have his hands full in this one. But I mean, he can more than hold his own with the best guys in the state. I think he's going to be a guy come the summertime that coaches are going to want to take a look at. But he's kind of been their unsung hero throughout this whole run, kind of a double-double kind of guy, and does things that provide that like toughness on the interior. So those are the guys that I'm looking at. And I mean, when it comes to a prediction, I've kind of thought that Milton was the team the whole time. So I'm going to go with Milton. I think this one's going to be really close. It's so tough to call. Both these teams have a great starting five all the way across the board. I think this is one of the more fun state championship matchups that we've had in the last couple of years. I think it's going to be a really good game.
Dan, what's the biggest storyline here for you, and who are you taking?
So Carter kind of hit on everything I was going to say. Like, I think these are two, like, just looking at strictly at the starting five, I think these are 100% the two best starting fives in 7A. And you can go right down the line. I think the interior matchup that Carter hit on, Dara Alande and Malik Ewan. And on the other side, you got LT Overton, one of the best football players in the country. He's huge. And Kendall Campbell's had a really good year. That matchup inside, to me, is going to be really fun to watch. And then even the guards. I mean, you got Bruce Thornton, Kanan Carlisle, and Brock Bidwell have all had really good years. And you got Jameel Rideout, you got Destin Logan, you got Jamari Hill. So, like, right down the line, you got really good matchups. I'm with Carter. I've kind of thought all year long that Milton was the best team. But I will say, Berkmar is a different team than they were back in November. They've kind of been playing their best ball the last couple of weeks. So I wouldn't be surprised if this time the result's a little different. So I guess I just hedged pretty strong there. But I'll take Milton as a close win here.
All right, should be a fun one. Turning to 6A for the fourth time this season, Cobb County rivals Kell and Wheeler will face off. Wheeler has won two of those matchups, with the Longhorns won the last meeting February 19th in double overtime. How does it play out for a championship? Dan, go inside this matchup.
Yeah, so I think the most fun matchup in this one is obviously Scoot Henderson matched up with Isaiah Collier. I think the difference on Wheeler's side is they've got more size than Kell. Kell's got for a team that's making it to the state championship, they've got a fairly smaller roster, but they're tough and they're scrappy. So I think that's how they won the last one. I didn't see the game, but I would imagine that they junked it up pretty good. But I'm going to take Wheeler as having been here before. They cut down the nets last year in 7A, now they're in 6A. I think they're going to do it again. But again, I think it's going to be another really, really good game that could come down to the final minute.
Carter, what's your focus on in this one?
Yeah, I think this one's a really close one too. We always seem to get these inter-regional state championship matchups. I think we had the famous one that I can remember is Miller Grove and the Sharman White teams played Southwest DeKalb a couple of times in the state championship game when they're in the same region, and it provides like these big rivalry games. And I think this one is especially more so because they kind of had a little bit of a scuffle at the end of that double overtime game. I think this is going to be a game that there's a little bit of chippiness. I don't think they're fond of each other, to say the least. Dan mentioned that the Isaiah Collier Scoot Henderson matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if we get Caleb Washington to defend Scoot Henderson the majority of this game. That's mainly what I'm going to be looking at. I think that Caleb Washington just has the ability to take guys out of a game. Like, he's that good defensively. That's what I'm really going to look at. Wheeler as a team is really good defensively. And I think Dan also mentioned the experience factor. I think that's going to come into play here. I'm going to take Wheeler in a really close one. I just think that defensively, that's really what wins. And I think they're the best defensive team that we have left in the state.
So certainly two really exciting matchups. But when we look elsewhere in the state, what title game catches your guys' eye? Carter, you can start it off with this one.
Yeah, I'm going to look at 3A, Sandy Creek and Cross Creek. Jabari Smith proved his status among the elite in the semifinals against Hart County. Like, he was unbelievable. Just doing everything. He was blocking shots. He was scoring from the perimeter, on the interior. He was rebounding, passing, you name it. He did it. I don't know that anybody can completely stop him. It's more along the lines of containing him. But Cross Creek has a really good team, like, that nobody really talks about out in Augusta. Like, they were the state runner-up last year. They're back this year in a different classification. They have a lot of seniors. They have a great backcourt. And they have some young guys too. So, I mean, they have kind of that athleticism to match up. They have good size. Corey Trotter on the inside is a really good player. I think it's a fun matchup, and it's one that Cross Creek's going to come in with a chip on their shoulder, fighting against, the clearly favorited Sandy Creek team that everyone's kind of looked at all year. But I think it's going to end up being a really good game. Dan, give us another matchup to watch out for.
Yes, I'm looking at the 5A matchup, and you got a team, Tri-Cities, who's been here before. They have a really good backcourt with Peyton Daniels and Simeon Cotto, who both had great years. And then you got Eagles Landing, who won a state championship, I think it was 2013, but hasn't been back since. But they've had a really good year, led by sophomore guard David Thomas, who I think is one of the best guards in the state that nobody talks about. It's just, you don't feel like his name comes up in conversations as much as it probably should. So I think that's going to be a really, really fun matchup. I watched them play earlier this year. They're a scrappy bunch. Tri-Cities is a scrappy bunch. I think, like I said, with the 6A and 7A games, I think this one's going to go right down to the last minute. And I'll be really, really interested to see who can pull it out at the end.
Well, an exciting weekend on tap, and keep it locked on RYZE Hoops for all of Carter and Dan's coverage. Follow on Instagram and Twitter, and make sure you're getting to ryzehoops.com. Guys, thanks, and enjoy a big hoops weekend in Georgia.
Thanks, Corey.